to the Mississippi Beta SigEp Podcast. My name is Thomas Hunt. With me, I have Mr. Chuck McBride today. This is the fourth episode of the podcast. It was started about a year ago by Austin Wesley, and I'm just going to continue it here. So, Mr. McBride, just give us a little background on yourself. Hope you're doing well and having a good day.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be a participant in this, Thomas. I appreciate it. I attended Mississippi State and graduated from there in 1985. I pledged SigEp in the fall of 1981. I graduated with an industrial engineering degree. Met my wife at Mississippi State. That was when they had a little sister chapter, and she was a Delta Gamma, and also later a little sister. I met her actually through Student Senate, though, in my sophomore year. So then, I was there at school on an Army ROTC scholarship. And so after graduating, I served my commitment, worked on the Hummer program, or the Humvee, however you want to refer to it, at the time when the Army was first fielding it. That was pretty interesting. Came back, went to Ole Miss Law School in 88, graduated in 91. Went into private practice of law with, first one firm in Jackson, then moved over to the Bernini Law Firm after about 4 years. I was there about 17 or 18 years. And then in 2013, I joined C-Spire, actually its holding company, which is known as Telepex, as the Senior Vice President of Legal and General Counsel. And so that's where I've been since 2013. And that's kind of my job background. I'm still married to my wife, who I met at Mississippi State. We've been married 37 years. I have 3 adult children. One's a nursing educator and instructor at University of Mississippi. That's my oldest daughter. My other daughter is a physician. She's in her 3rd year of residency in pediatrics at UAB. And my son just graduated from Ole Miss and moved to Nashville. He's gotten a good job there. He's working. He's also a musician and had a band while he was at Ole Miss. They played at State some. It's called the Pearl Divide. And so anyway, that's it. I live in Ridgeville, Mississippi. That's where C-Spire is headquartered. So
very cool. Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's a lot of you've had a lot of job experience. That's good.
What happens when you get old? So,
yes, sir. So just kind of just talking more about, about your time in the chapter. What are some of the leadership roles that you kind of took when you were SigEp here?
Yeah. Like I said, I pledged in 81 and then, was initiated in the spring of 82 and got pretty involved in the chapter more on a leadership basis in the fall of 82. I remember I was had some role that had to do with communications and kind of what I would call PR these days. We didn't have social media, obviously, in 1982, but it was more media relations, that kind of stuff. And so through that, just kind of got involved in the chapter in a larger way. And actually, I was elected president in late in 82, November of 82. And so served as president of the fraternity for calendar year 83. And then after that was an active member. I think I served on a couple of committees, maybe back on that PR or something. I did a lot. I was real involved on campus when I was there. Again, like I said, I was Army ROTC, scholarship recipient, and I was student senator 1 year, and then I was student body attorney general my senior year, and then just a lot of various other activities and that sort of thing, because we were, as I'm sure you are right now in the chapter. I mean, we were interested in having the chapter have as good a presence as possible, kind of out there on student activities and things going on at the university and everything. So the experience was great. Being president of a fraternity is a challenging position. Being in leadership in any leadership position is because you have a lot of responsibility and you don't really have a lot of formal authority, and so you're left with trying to convince everybody to do what you think is make the appropriate decisions and do the right things. And so in that sense, it was great. Learned a lot about running meetings and doing that sort of thing. Learned a lot about working with people and, really how important it is when you're in a leadership role to build consensus and not just kind of go off on your own without the support of your brothers or whatever organization you're in. I was with super people, especially in that year that were, in that leadership role with me. David Hopkins was vice president. Stayed in touch with him. Murray Weaver was on that cabinet as well. I've stayed in touch with him. And, Bill Norris, I think, was controller. I haven't seen Bill in a while, but he did a great job for us. But it was a good, just a good group, and enjoyed working with them, and, greatly enjoyed my time there. And as I don't know if we mentioned this. I don't think we mentioned this on the recording. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, so I came to Mississippi State without any real connections to Mississippi, current connections. My dad was from Mississippi, which is what was it, working, leading me back here or down here. And so the fraternity just gave me a great connection to the school, and was just a incredibly important part of my life, during those college years. So.
That's cool. I mean, it's a big responsibility being president. You're kind of almost the face of the fraternity. And it seems like having a very good exec board is a big part of that, being a good leadership.
Definitely.
So, I mean, just kind of tell me about some of your experiences living in the house. Was there, kind of positives, negatives, just kind of, some of the good memories with brothers?
Well, on the good side, I mean, it was just great to be with a bunch of guys that I knew and, really enjoyed being around. We had a great time, together, a lot of funny stories when we get together now. We'll, talk about old times and everything. So that was a really, really positive experience. And, I think really, it's just the way it worked out with me I was elected president at a pretty young age, which, I used to say, I think I was ready to be president, but I wasn't sure I was ready to be a good student and president that year. So I spent those next 2 years pulling my grades up a little bit because I was a little bit divided in my attention that, for that year. Plus I met my wife to be, that had a little bit to do with it. But anyhow, they were great times, and I think a lot that had to do a lot of what led me to kind of become a leader in the fraternity was moving into the house my sophomore year, and really at that point it became much more of a everyday part of my life than it had been as a freshman living in the dorm and just showing up for meals and going to swaps and stuff like that. So those were, just, again, having, people there at all times, and somebody was always doing something funny or interesting or, whatever. It was a little, sometimes being in the house as president, it could be a little tiresome because, I kind of felt responsible for, what was going on there. And I guess I was, myself and some of the other executive board leaders. So, there's a little bit of a challenge around that sometimes, but I think that, again, that was all good growing experience. I mean, to try to be, being in a situation with people who are your peers, and yet you're in a leadership position, and at the same time trying to do that and not have everybody mad at you and, upset with you anymore. I mean, sometimes when you're in a leadership role, people are going to not just necessarily agree with you, but learning how to work through all those issues without, and still be friends and still be, still have these great long-term relationships and all. So it's, good experience.
Definitely seems like a good experience. It seems these past couple episodes of this podcast, kind of a theme has emerged of just brotherhood and just kind of those relationships that, you kind of establish in college and they kind of stick with you. I mean, even now, just kind of hit on that and some of those special relationships you've kind of formed.
Yeah, well, I don't know why this is in life, but the people I made friends with in my younger years, they just stick. And, you can pick up with them anytime. I mean, it's like I can get back together with my, pledge brothers and see them, and even, other guys that were there came in either before or after me. And, you just, it's almost like family because you just have that immediate relationship and that, that in common that you can always go back to. And as I go through different seasons of life, it's amazing now with my kids all being grown and everything, and have a little more time for stuff. It's probably get an opportunity to see them a little bit more, and it's really a great bond. And through the course of my career and stuff, I've come across people who were members of the chapter who I didn't know when I was there. I mean, who were not there when I was there. Let me be clear about that. Who either came before or after me, and it's always been a great thing to have in common. And we have common. There's always some overlap of life. If somebody older than me, maybe they knew somebody who was still there when I got there and that sort of thing. So, that's really been a good thing. And that's probably the most important part of being a SigEp is just having the relationships that you make. And, they're just relationships for a lifetime, and to be able to always pick up with those guys where, as if you hadn't even been apart, that's fantastic. So that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm. You always have that friendship forever. That's always something that you all share.
Yeah.
Just kind of talk about, with your time in SigEp, how did that kind of prepare you to go out into the workforce, and, kind of about that?
Yeah. It's interesting. In law school, one doesn't learn anything directly really about leadership per se. And so, I would say that the experience I've had, and I mean, now I'm in a leadership role at C Spire. I was in the Army by definition. As an Army officer, you're a leader in a leadership
Yes,
role.
sir.
And you learn a lot about it there. But I can remember when I was in my law firm and I was in a leadership role for, a couple of terms, and really a lot of what I learned about the interpersonal relationships and the interpersonal skills associated with being a leader, arose out of what I learned while I was at SigEp and in those leadership roles. So
That's cool. That's cool. Overall, it seems you're very involved here on campus when you're at State, and then you were very involved in the fraternity. Just kind of, was that overwhelming, or were you able to balance that? What are kind of some memories from college as well, kind of in that, trying to balance all that?
I kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier. I mean, it's being president as a sophomore was a little bit of a challenge, especially in engineering, and then, adding ROTC on top of that. I mean, that was a lot of hours to try to cram into a day. And, so at times it could be overwhelming, but, on balance, I'd say it was really rewarding to do all that. On the campus activities, again, where I've seen that come into play is that's just where you meet people, and, that gives you an opportunity to get outside the fraternity and know more people and have contact with more people. Because it's really easy when you're an undergrad just to know the folks in your fraternity, and, and then, not really get outside that world much. And so it's good to get in these other activities and be around other people, and, just get to know others in the university community that way. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time thus far, and I just kind of want to leave this open to you. Is there anybody that you want to shout out? Anything else you kind of want to say as we kind of draw this to a close?
I understand the chapter's doing well. Y'all have done a great job, with, where it's come, how much has been accomplished in a very short period of time. And I think this is a great idea, and I appreciate you reaching out to me, and always happy to, help however I can. So thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Mr. McBride.
All right, Thomas. Good to see you.
Good to see you.